nothing is true.
I wear a blonde wig.
Absolute delight.
Got a bit Tommy Cooper now.
It's all very hush-hush.
I'm already thrilled.
Oh, naughty.
Thunderbirds are a go.
Right now.
You stole my line.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson, Richard James, and Chris Dale.
It's the Gerry Anderson Podcast!
Hang on. You stole my line.
He did, but he did it so beautifully. I think he should have it forevermore.
Oh,
Although,
no. We can share it.
Could be lifted with jazz hands. Next time.
Yeah.
There he is. It is the Gerry Anderson Podcast. You're welcome to it. Pod 308.
Indeed, yes.
Who's going to tell us what we've got coming up in the podcast this week?
We've got a bit of newsy news.
Very good.
Would you like to take it from there?
Oh, because he's forgotten the rest.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Well, we have the Randomiser, of course.
Of course,
We'll be
yes.
watching a random episode of a random Gerry Anderson series.
Yeah.
We'll be hearing from our lovely Podsterons in a little section that we like to call...
Voice of the Podsterons.
And
And there's an interview.
yes, who are we interviewing this week?
Well, you are interviewing Mr. Sam Clemens, actor and director of a lot of the Anderson audiobooks that have been coming out recently from Big Finish, including the rather wonderful Thunderbirds audio dramas.
Yes, that's right. Podsterons, I would like to hear from you if you have sampled the aforementioned Gerry Anderson audio adventures of Stingray, Thunderbirds. Let us know. Terrorhawks, what have been your favourite and what would you like to hear next? Podcast at gerryanderson.com. That's the way to get in touch with us.
Yeah. Or even if you haven't listened to them, you can still write to us or whatever. That's all right, isn't
Okay.
it?
Yeah.
It's not a prerequisite that they
No,
listen
no,
to
no.
Thunderbirds, Danger and Deception.
No.
Yeah.
I tell you what is a prerequisite, though,
what?
that we have some Gerry Anderson news every week. Because
Every week.
there's always something new happening in the Gerry Anderson universe.
Right now.
Gerry Anderson news.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. Oh, snuck that in,
missed
you
it.
cheeky bugger.
Yeah, well, you'll have to get your quick next time, won't you?
I'll try harder next time.
Remember.
What's in the news this week, Jamie?
Well,
Yes.
two very exciting things.
Oh, yeah.
And luckily, I've got two experts in the
Two
room
very
with
exciting
me.
people.
Two very exciting people who happen to know all about it. So, First Action Bureau, Damaged Goods.
Yes.
Oh,
Richard James has written it.
Yeah.
You are Richard James,
Yeah.
who has written it.
Oh, yeah.
So, Richard James, author. What is First Action Bureau, Damaged Goods?
First Action Bureau Damaged Goods is a prequel to the audio series First Action Bureau that appeared 2020? 2021? I want to say.
2020 is so long ago.
long time ago.
All recorded during lockdown, 10 episodes that were free to listen to, I believe, as a podcast on YouTube and other podcast providers.
Yes.
But then also available in a rather smart CD set, which I have at
yes.
home.
The feature edit.
Indeed, yeah, lovely. It detailed the adventures of Nero, Jones, and the First Action Bureau. First Action Bureau are rather clever because they can predict crime before it happens,
Yes.
which is a very useful thing to have. It's a bit like me predicting, you bringing me a coffee when we first arrived.
Yes, that didn't go so well today, did it? Anyway, moving on.
So that was the series, 10 episodes. Genevieve Gaunt, what a cast. Sasha Dewan, Patterson Joseph,
Yeah.
Nicola Walker,
Yeah.
Wayne Forrester,
And
Richard James.
exactly.
And then I think about a year and a half ago, Jamie, you said, well, we'd like to do something more with First Action Bureau. Because as we know, it's hellishly difficult to get more than two people in the same room at the same time.
The problem with that cast is
Yeah.
they're so good, they're
Yeah.
so unavailable.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
try and unite them again. So we thought, well, what else could we tell here?
Yes, that's right. And so we hit upon the idea of a prequel. Just who is Nero Jones? What is her backstory? Why did she become the woman that we know from the audio as a rather troubled woman, has to be said. So the prequel novel is set 10 years before the events of the audio series. We discover a young Nero Jones, aged about 18 or 19, in a young offenders institute,
Oh, naughty.
trying to escape from a young offenders institute.
Even
wouldn't?
naughtier.
And what she's doing there, I couldn't possibly say. What she did to get in there, I couldn't possibly say. But
Will the answers be in the book?
some of them.
Some of them,
Oh,
okay.
but not all.
And then, of
Intriguing.
course,
There's another prequel novel coming up next year.
And then, of course, once she leaves the Young Offenders Institute, she finds herself in the sweaty clutches of the First Action Bureau, where she discovers, and I love saying this, that nothing is true.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's now available, or will be. It's ready to pre-order. Will be winging its way to our Podsterons by the end of the month. and will also be available as an audiobook read by the wonderful Nero Jones herself, Genevieve Gaunt, at some point in the very near future.
It will be, and that'll be available as a download, not a CD set, because it's about 8 hours long.
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is.
big old.
But there's
novel.
one more feature about the book that you didn't mention just there.
Is that the cover?
Cover is very nice, but that wasn't what I was thinking of. Something to give it a little bit more value.
You, Podsterons, will be the lucky recipients of some very rare signed copies.
Exactly.
There will only
right.
be 300 in existence, and they will be yours to keep forever with my little scrawl.
Yes, absolutely. And at time of recording, they are half sold out already, which I'm
Nice.
Okay,
lovely. I'm very happy
good.
to see.
Great.
So yes, and that'll be shipping in 4 or 5 weeks' time from now, which is
About now.
end of May, early June.
All right.
Shipping time.
Okay, great. So from something new from the Gerry Anderson universe to something old.
Something old. Why are you
Not-
looking at me?
that's-
Well, I'm the custodian of all things old around here. Yes, our friends at Talking Pictures, who have been running some very well-received repeat runs of Fireball XL5 and Thunderbirds, and currently Stingray on Saturday afternoons. From June the 1st, they are going to be showing Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons.
Hurrah!
Which is very exciting. Another Super Mario Nation series to add to their little collection. So leave us a comment or a thumbs up or something if you're very excited about seeing Captain Scarlet on Talking Pictures.
Yeah.
Because I know I am.
And thank you, Sarah and Noel and all the Talking Pictures team for doing all the Anderson stuff that you're doing. It's
Yeah.
much appreciated, and people love sitting down and watching some traditional linear telly.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Now, how does that work, Jamie? Do they come to you and say, "Can we show this"?
It's nothing to do with me,
Or-
mate.
Yeah, or do they let you know, or you suggest, or?
I normally find out from somebody else. No, I'm in regular contact
Yeah.
with Sarah and Co. And they're actually doing some other bits and pieces, I think, later in the year that are Anderson adjacent, perhaps.
Oh, I see. Okay. And they're such a brilliant channel. They are the home of classic TV, aren't they? And film. Of
I've
course.
got so many films recorded off there on the Skybox. Yeah, nice big backlog of stuff.
Yeah, extraordinary.
It's
yeah,
lovely.
Great. Anything else for this week's news, Jamie?
Oh, I think that's enough, isn't it?
Does that mean that Chris can sing us out?
I think it's Chris's moment.
What now? That was the news. That was the news.
He's got quite a nice tone to his voice, hasn't
Yeah,
he?
be still my beating heart.
Yeah, I know it is. More Gerry Anderson news next week, of course, because it's now a weekly feature again. I think everyone's very happy to see the news back.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Just means we have to think about it each week. That's
Yeah,
all.
okay. Now, a little earlier on, I sat down and had a lovely chat with someone who's intimately linked with the Gerry Anderson universe. That's Sam Clemens. Writer, director, actor. He
All
told me all,
round nice chap.
I was going to add exactly that.
Yeah,
He
well, I
is.
got to it first.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, and he told me
that
all
nice?
about his
Yeah.
experience in the recording booth for Anderson Entertainment and Big Finish, and also some of his other experiences treading the boards, producing and directing films as well. Would you like to hear my interview? Tough, because you're going to anyway.
All right, then.
Sam Clemens.
Hello.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's
How
an
are you-
absolute delight.
How are you finding Slough?
I mean,
Yeah. Let's move on. Now, I have to say, you're sort of uniquely placed, if you don't mind me saying, in the sort of British film, TV, entertainment world. I should imagine, given your background, which we'll talk about if we can.
of course, yeah.
You must have something of quite a broad overview of the industry. Is that true?
I suppose, yeah. I mean, growing up with a writer, you know, I didn't really realise, obviously, that my dad was doing something in a more exotic world than anyone else. But obviously, when I was growing up, you know, the dinner parties that my parents would have, they'd have, you know, there'd be directors and stuntmen and actors and people coming over. And then very quickly I started realising this doesn't feel normal to everyone else's life. And also the stories they were telling were just, you know, just amazing. And you couldn't help but be completely bewitched and romanticised into this industry, you know.
Yeah, because
So, yeah.
your father, of course, being Brian Clemens.
Yes, yeah.
A most prolific writer of, we were speaking earlier over a delicious lunch.
Yeah.
He sort of spanned the genres.
Yeah, I mean, he started in the 50s, and I found actually in the archive the other day his very first script, Valid for Single Journey, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he worked in television. I'd say most famously doing the Avengers, and the Professionals, and the Protectors.
Yes.
But he also crossed into film because he actually started in film. He started in film at the Danziger brothers, doing lots of sort of little B movies. So before he'd done television, he'd written 30 or 40 features, and then moved into television. And obviously, the British film industry was sort of dying. So all of those incredible craftsmen were still working, but in television. So they had all these incredible cinematographers and production designers that had done huge movies that were working on television. And then later on, he moved into theatre as well. I mean, I think he's sort of, he's written 15 plays, and I'm still finding more in the archive and things and ideas. Lots of radio ideas as well. I think he did a little bit of radio as well. So he kind of was uniquely placed in that he wrote for almost every medium, and so I've been exposed to that, and I feel very lucky that I've trained as an actor, and I still work as an actor when people ask me occasionally.
Likewise.
High five then. We're free. We're ready. Everyone, very available. But I feel quite privileged that I get to direct audio a lot, which is sort of, I feel, my bread and butter. This is how I came into this world. Film, which is maybe less frequent than this, than audio drama, and theatre. I get to direct theatre, so I feel I'm at least getting a chance to sort of work in 3 different mediums, which is lovely. And I also teach occasionally as well, which I think also helps enormously. Sort of resets you, and kind of you working with young people and their new ideas and how they're looking at things, and it keeps what you're doing fresh as well a little bit.
Do you get the sense, though, looking back at his very long career from the 50s onwards and your career now, does it feel like the same world, or has the industry changed so much that it's almost a different job completely?
I think it has completely changed in the sense of that it was a very unique thing to be in this industry when he was writing. And now, I don't want to be flippant about it, but anyone can obviously pick up their phone and go and make a film, or it's much, much easier to be in this industry, and so it's been demystified, and the kit is a lot less expensive. So it's more accessible. Whereas then,
for better or for worse, do you think?
I think both. I think obviously you get some incredible stories and new voices and new ideas that maybe wouldn't have seen the light of day back then, but then obviously you've just got so much more of it to wade through. How often do we go through Netflix or any of the streaming channels, and then you go, I haven't actually chosen anything. I've been looking for an hour. And I haven't actually picked anything, and it's just it's too much sometimes. So I think it is a completely different industry. I think obviously I think the budgets have changed. I think that certainly what Dan was being paid at the time would have been incredibly handsome then, and I think it's a lot less for the same, if not more, effort now. But I did discover there's one thing that felt quite bizarre and serendipitous. When I made my first feature, The Waterhouse, which we were taking to Cannes this year, I realised, and I know I didn't design this at all, but when Dad was directing Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter for Hammer Horror, that was his only film as a director, we were exactly the same age when we were directing it. Really? So it felt quite weird to then go... And by that point in his career, he'd already done all of the Avengers had been done. Okay. There was a huge career in Hammer Horror. And
don't measure yourself by that.
It was like, I think things are a little bit different. So I feel I'm playing catch up a little bit, but
So, this week and next week we'll be talking about, if we can, your life and career so far.
Yeah, well,
as well, it's a special interest, of course, in your more recent Anderson connection with Big Finish and Anderson Entertainment, having directed both Thunderbirds and Stingray, I think, for audio. Is that right?
That is, yeah. Very kindly, Jamie and Nick Briggs asked me if I'd like to direct Thunderbirds was the first one, and then Stingray was straight afterwards, adapting some of the novels into audios, and then moving on into the comic strips later on. And I mean, they're just a delight to work on, and please, more of them, please. They're just so much fun to do.
Great. Well, we'll talk more about those later on, but let me take you back to young Sam Clemens. What was he watching back in the day? What caught your eye as a child?
I mean, I suppose I'm the big. We were talking about this earlier, that I was in that period where Doctor Who was off television really when I was young. I think it went off in 88 or 89, and I was 9 then. So I was probably at the perfect age for it to get you.
Yes.
And because it wasn't there, the things that got me really, I suppose, was Star Wars, I would say. I mean, I was, obsessed with Star Wars. Yeah. Wizard of Oz. We had these old videotapes of all of those of the trilogy of the original Star Wars 4, 5, 6 and the Wizard of Oz, and I must have watched them I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. I mean, and then I think as I grew up, my dad was always quite good at, good or bad, I don't know. He didn't really worry about censorship in what we could watch. He would say, "Look, I'm going to tell you this is maybe an adult film, but it's up to you. And at some point, you'll frighten yourself, and you'll find your own barrier of what you're happy with, or you're not happy with."
Okay.
And so I feel my favourite movie. I remember this because when we went to Los Angeles because my dad was doing. He was flown out there to do a series. And he was there for quite a long time. And I only remember because we went to visit him. It was the only time that he was actually away from home because he wrote completely from home all the time. And they were shooting and behind our hotel, Terminator 2. And my favourite film at that point was Terminator. And I must have been about 10 or 11. But I grew up on, I suppose, those type of films. So Alien, Terminator, Aliens, RoboCop, which are all hard 18 films.
Yeah, absolutely right, yes.
But I mean, that's what I kind of grew up loving, as well as the Back to the Futures and the Indiana Joneses and all those kind of adventure stories and films. I suppose my sensibility was much more American in what I liked, I suppose, than British when I was growing up. Not that I didn't like it, I just was exposed, I think, to more of it. And then lots of animation. I think He-Man was a big one as a kid. Mask, Transformers, all of which I think owe an enormous amount to Thunderbirds.
Absolutely right.
That transformation from one guys and then they flip into something else. I was thinking about this on the journey here. They all owe an enormous amount to Gerry Anderson and Thunderbirds, particularly, and Stingray.
But there's the one name that didn't appear in that list of things you were watching as a child. Gerry Anderson, of course.
Absolutely, yeah. That was the other thing that I didn't really. I mean, I was aware of it because I remember having a Thunderbird 2,
right?
But not really going. This is a cool vehicle. This is amazing.
Yeah.
What's it from? I didn't really know what it was from or like how it connected because I was playing obviously with my Star Wars toys and He-Man and G.I. Joe or whatever it was. But it didn't really matter. But so I remember using it, but I had no concept of what it was really from at that period because it just wasn't. It wasn't in my in my wheelhouse at the time. I wasn't being exposed to it at the time.
Which might put you, some people might think, at something of a disadvantage for the game we are about to play, which is called Super Identification. Because, Sam, we're going to show you some very quick clips from each of Gerry's 18, I think, TV series. And they are very quick. Okay. So when you see one that you know, shout out.
I just shout the name out, yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll see how you do.
Oh,
okay, ready for this?
Yes, here we go.
All right. But early days, very early days.
Oh, no.
Gone.
No.
Still in black and white.
Yeah. Oh. And they are quick, aren't they?
They're very quick. I think
no, this is terrible.
We'll be heading into familiar territory pretty soon.
Thunderbirds.
Wrong.
Oh! There we go. Thunderbirds doing really well.
Well done.
Captain Scarlet.
Yes, good.
Oh, Joe 90.
Good. Very obscure, this one.
No. Oh,
too late.
Yeah. UFO.
Well done. Yes.
I should know that. I'm in.
Absolutely.
Protect Us.
Good.
Should know that one as well. Thank gosh.
This is an emergency.
Terrorhawks.
Good.
Gosh.
Very good.
Quick. Oh God. Oh, what was?
Oh, what was that one?
That was that one.
Yeah.
Favored right across the universe.
And finally.
Yeah. Is that
Yeah.
Captain Scarlet again?
It is.
It is. Oh, it is. Okay, cool.
That's new Captain Scarlet. The remake. Well done, Sam.
So about 3.
7 points, Sam. That's
7
not bad
points.
as well. Yeah.
That's a lot better than I was expecting.
Well, if you look around the table here, I think that. 8, 7, 6, 10. I think we have had people as low as 2. So 7 is very respectable.
I mean, I feel like I should know more because I went to the standby for action concert
Yes.
with which they played all of them. And
Yes.
I should have paid way more attention because at the time I was like, oh, yes.
That's right.
And so I remember I was going, oh,
I know, and it is very quick, and then you're on to the next one. I think, I should really have given you Stingray because I know that you knew Stingray.
yeah,
but,
no, that's fine.
but
It's because I was being a complete fool.
Space Precinct as well, you were almost
Yes,
angling for
yes.
at the end there, the police procedural. But there we are. There's your 7 points.
Yay!
So we'll stick that on the edge of the table. That's very creditable. Well
Thank you very
done.
much.
So let's talk about then, from knowing very little about Gerry Anderson, suddenly you find yourself immersed in the worlds of Anderson.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, I mean, it was really weird because obviously not knowing about Gerry Anderson, but I heard the name Gerry Anderson because my dad knew Gerry and they shared, they were not shared an office, but they had offices down the corridor from each other. So they
Pinewood, would that have been, or elsewhere?
Was it Elstree?
Elstree?
I think so. I want to say there. It probably won't be, and I'll be in trouble for getting the wrong one. But yes, one of the studios, they were there. And I think they used to get on quite famously, quite well. So I'd heard of Gerry a lot over the years and had never met him, and obviously knew that he had made Thunderbirds and Stingray, but hadn't really, it just because it wasn't on TV and I didn't have the videos at the time, I just wasn't obviously seeing it. So when how I got into this was that I was working as a director for Big Finish Productions because I was an actor previously, and I'd done a few because I met Nick Briggs on stage. So I didn't even know Nick Briggs was the voice of the Daleks.
Right.
I didn't know that he ran Big Finish. I
Yeah.
just knew he was an actor playing Sherlock Holmes in this play that I was opposite him, and we got on really well. And then he sort of invited me to come and do a couple of episodes of varying things. One of them was to do the play as an audio, which is Holmes and the Ripper, which is one of Dad's plays that we did.
Right.
And then a couple of Doctor Who's, and we sort of obviously kept in touch and everything. And then I directed a play of my dad's called Strictly Murder, which is what I'm trying to turn into a film at the moment, which, touch wood, is looking good.
Yeah.
And I directed the stage show, and a friend of mine who was a fellow actor came to see it, and he loved it and said, I want you to direct my audio drama for Big Finish. And I was like, A, I didn't know that you wrote anything, and B, what?
Yes.
And C, I've never directed audio. What are you talking about? And that was Nigel Fairs. And this was for Shilling and Sixpence Investigate, and that was starring David Warner and Celia Imrie. And so I obviously said yes. I obviously was pretty nervous, like my first one in with heavyweight David Warner. But I was like, obviously I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
And that was my sort of introduction was that, and it was a huge sprawling sort of like Agatha Christie-esque, twist and turn thriller, and it was huge with a quite a small cast, multi-rolling enormously. Like one of the actors played 9 characters in it, and I think from that's when I obviously passed the test of not totally ruining it.
Yes,
So
giving you a call.
so I got a call
Yeah.
to say, did I want to do a Doctor Who? And this is when I was really exposed to Doctor Who, to do a 7th Doctor with Sylvester McCoy, and I acted with him before, and so anyway, that didn't go too badly, or so I was told by the powers that be, and so they kept asking me to do more and more, and I kept saying yes because what an amazing opportunity it was to get to work with such incredible writers and talent and actors, and and to cut your teeth working on genre story, is just a delight, really. And not like my dad, but in a way similar. So I felt this sort of felt
Home territory. in a way.
yeah, I feel like, what is your USP or what is your thing? I think mine is probably genre because I grew up with a genre writer, so I understand it quite intrinsically, I suppose. And then Nick called me and said, look, we're thinking about doing Thunderbirds, and would you be interested in directing? It would be through Anderson Entertainment. And I was like, absolutely. I mean, again, I had obviously seen a few episodes by this point, and I was more aware of Thunderbirds than I was when I was a kid. Again, not like, it wasn't something that I watched a lot. So it was but it was a challenge. I thought, well, and the idea was to try and keep it as authentic as possible to the 60s, and have voice actors to try and recreate the same tone
Yeah.
and style.
So not to reimagine, not to reboot.
Not really,
No.
no. To kind of continue it on
Yeah.
in that spirit, because I think because of the reboots that had happened, and I went to drama school with someone that was in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that went down particularly well. I'm probably mentioning it on here as sacrilege, but I think I felt, a kinship, because that happened to my dad with the Avengers. The Avengers movie was an absolute disaster,
Yes.
and so I felt that the idea of doing something faithfully, the way that it was, it started out was a nice. It felt kind of fresh in a weird way to do it authentically to the period as much as possible. So it was a challenge. I'd worked with John Coleshaw once before. I hadn't really worked with any of the others at all. But I just thought, for me, if it frightens me, and I always feel like this as an actor, I say yes, because it always isn't maybe as frightening as you think it's going to be, and you learn something about yourself and maybe what you're capable of, or maybe you learn another weakness that you've got to work on, another area of yourself to work on. And I can only, praise the Anderson team because they just welcomed me completely with open arms and have been so, accepting and nourishing, I suppose, to my, lack of knowledge within it. But I mean, how I approach it is I just approach it as a story. Mm-hmm. I'm lucky that I get to sort of direct film, which might be a bit more genre-based. It might be a bit more sort of more R-rated. In theatre, it can kind of vary and whatever. But sometimes even in drama school, I'll be directing Chekhov.
Yeah, sure.
And that's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So to be able to go from that to this, it feels strange, but it's you're just telling a story. So you've got to identify what it is, and what the objectives are of everyone and what everyone wants from each other. And it's no different, really. It's the same. So I can only approach it that way a little bit.
Did you feel anything of the responsibility of having that weight of the previous series and all those decades of veneration that you had to try and recreate?
Absolutely, but I think having Jamie's blessing is what made me feel confident with it, because obviously, he's taking care of his father's legacy, and I'm in a not a dissimilar position with some of my father's work. So I think I understood what that means, in here. Yeah. So yes, but then I felt I've already had a huge crash course in that with Doctor Who, because again, I wasn't a Who fan, not because I didn't like it, and now retrospectively I think it's fantastic. I love it, and I go back and I watch loads of episodes, but again, I can only approach it as a story. So I'd already done that in one huge franchise, and survived.
Yes.
Live to fight another day. So I felt that this would be, another challenge, but one I wanted to explore it. I really wanted to explore. I just thought a property of this size and this scope and such ingenuity and something that has influenced and touched so many people. How could I not say yes? I mean, the worst they'd say is, that was terrible. Thank you very much.
Don't do it again.
Yeah, we'll hire someone else. But and so I was prepared for that. They might go another direction or want someone else. But they, thankfully they haven't.
So not an early adopter by any means of the Anderson work, but you still have your first Anderson memories, and you were kind enough to send me one to share. So
yes.
Let's have a look at Sam Clemens' first Anderson memory.
Here we go.
There he is.
False advertising. Yes.
This is the one.
Yeah, I just think this sequence has just inspired so many movies. Because it reminded me when I watched it recently, because I was watching them again for research. I was like, this is like The Dark Knight Rises. It's like the opening of that. Okay. And then there was a conversation about it being similar to Bond. And obviously all the Mission Impossible films with Tom Cruise now, I think, are directly lifting from lots of these sequences.
I'm going to try and board now. Target 1. Give me more cable, a foot at a time. Coming up now.
Even the Bane mask. Yes.
Coming up now.
Coming up now.
Again. One more time. Hold it. Okay. Count of 5 and then up. 5. 4.
It's great.
3. 2. 1. Now.
you go. Thunderbirds trapped in the sky, I think, that
Trapped in
particular
the Sky.
sequence. And you're right, it did spawn.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure. I'm sure Christopher Nolan has mentioned it somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
sure that he was a fan of this because it fits his sort of his style really.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
that there are huge sequences that are
Yeah.
very real and
Yeah.
very sort of there's a lot of danger in it. And I actually went to drama school with Tom Hardy. He was in my
Yeah, okay,
years,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
it's kind of always interesting watching anything with him in it.
But I think, the scale of and scope of the ambition in Gerry Anderson and his team in the 60s
Yeah.
to be producing things like that we're still stealing, in effect, now for our blockbuster movies is quite extraordinary, isn't it?
I mean, I honestly, that's what, when I came to watching it, most recently before doing the audio dramas, and that's what struck me more than anything was just the sheer scale
Yeah.
of it, and that they feel like huge, big movies.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they're so enduring, is that they haven't really dated in that way because of the realism of it, and because it's practical, because you kind of know, your eye knows it's real.
Yeah.
The explosions are real,
Yeah.
and it's just it's the tactile nature of it. It doesn't feel synthetic.
So how do you capture that for an audio production? How do you capture that cinematic, filmic quality, the epic scale in an audio production? Is it possible?
I think it's difficult but I think we underestimate our imagination. It's like when you read a book and your imagination of it is that's why I think a lot of the time when you watch a movie of the book, you go, oh, it's disappointing because it doesn't match your imagination.
Yeah.
There are a few. I think The Godfather was very similar to what came out. I think Lord of the Rings, particularly on that scale, is something that was very similar, or probably even bigger. Certainly when I read it, it felt the movies were bigger than they were in my head. So I have to sort of give over to the audience's imagination a little bit, but I can only help tease it a little bit. And I think that sound design obviously plays an enormous part of it, and just a well placed sort of lock and load of getting into a chair or a seatbelt going on or coming off, or a door opening and then you hear the flapping or something like that. That helps you start to understand, the door's open.
Yes.
The wind's rushing in, the danger's right there. Okay. So you start populating it with your imagination. And obviously the score, I think, is an enormous part of it. And we were so lucky to get Joe Kramer, Hollywood composer Joe Kramer, who did Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, and Jack Reacher to do it. And he really is, the real deal, in the sense that he's not like Hans Zimmer in his way that he composes. It's not sort of big strokes and drones. It's much more a kind of Jerry Goldsmith, John Williams, sort of orchestral way of working, a bit like Barry Gray, I suppose. It's quite similar, and that's needed more in audio, because I suppose they used to call it like Mickey Mousing. It's sort of hitting moments musically to tell you what's going on.
Okay.
And as cinema has progressed, that's become less and less and less and less.
Yes.
And like Thomas Newman or Hans Zimmer, they play like a feeling for a long
That's
period.
right.
Whereas John Williams still plays all the little moments and the feelings. And that's gone out of fashion a bit. And hopefully maybe it will come back as we have less themes, I think.
Yeah.
But in audio, that can be incredibly helpful, and I think it gives the composer an enormous freedom to do that, to help storytell, to fill in the blanks because obviously in Thunderbirds you go, right, Thunderbirds are go, and you're like, right, well now we've got a 2-minute sequence with no dialogue.
That's right.
How are we gonna do this? Obviously we have the music and the sound design, but I think music plays an enormous part in it, more than I think film in this way.
Interesting. Now, you may have noticed this wonderful Space 1999 lunchbox here.
Love it.
That we have courtesy of Robert Taylor, who picked this up in the US for us and sent it through. It's full of questions from our viewers and listeners.
Wow.
For you. So we'll have some this week and some next week.
Okie dokie.
Give them a bit of a shake-up. So take out a handful of those and let's get through 3 or 4 of them, shall we?
Okay, here we go.
Great.
Hopefully I haven't got all of them.
No, there's plenty left. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Can't believe we've got so many questions. Thank you very much. Okay, Stuart James Lusher.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Sam. I enjoy the audiobooks of Stingray and Thunderbirds. Will there be any more audio stories? And which is your favourite audiobook episode?
Wow.
Well, firstly, I hope so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. Is the answer to that. I don't know as of yet. But I'm praying to the Thunderbird gods and
Yes,
Stingray
that'd be
gods
good.
above that we get more of them. My favourite, God, it's really hard. I think one of the latest sets, there was a really lovely one that Genevieve Gaunt wrote about sort of the backstory of Parker and Lady Penelope. And that was really lovely because it's sort of, I mean, there's so many episodes that I love, actually. It's really, really hard. But I think of that one particularly helps you explore that relationship and what they mean to each other. Because you only get that as you're going on the road with the other characters. Do you know what I mean? You're discovering it whilst they're on a mission in, peril. But it was quite nice to sort of have moments to understand how they met, and how they formed this, incredible partnership. And so there was something, it felt really special recording that. And it felt quite special that I suppose Genevieve was adapting this story for it, playing obviously Lady Penelope.
Yeah.
So I think that one we all had a lot of fun doing that, I remember. And those ones particularly, we record them in a slightly different way than we recorded the adaptations of the books, in which we record them live like a play.
Yeah.
So we do them from beginning to end, and we run them in one go, and then we have some notes and do it again. So you get a real sense of flow. So for an actor, it's great because you get a sense of a beginning, middle, and end rather than these start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. So it's more like doing a piece of theatre in a way. And that, I think, lent itself really well to this story because there was a real sort of beginning of a relationship, a forming of it, and then a kind of solidification of it over that journey. Yeah. And you really got to live that. So I think that was probably the one that stuck with me as maybe my favourite to record.
Yeah, very good. Let's have another question.
Okay, another question. Jonathan Westall.
Oh, yes.
Out of all the Stingray and Thunderbirds audios that you've directed, which one did you find the most challenging and why?
Okay, that's a difficult question, isn't it?
That is. And I think, God, what was the most challenging? That's, I think doing the audio book, the novel adaptations are probably harder. And they're probably harder because Wayne Forrester had so much to do. And so we would spend, a couple of days or a day with the cast, but then we'd have a whole day or more with Wayne.
Just Wayne.
And also trying to find the right tone of voice that goes under the music, so he's not being drowned out by the sound design and the music, and when to lift it and pull it back. And it's really hard, particularly the first time, because you have nothing to compare it to yet until you've done one.
I see.
So I think probably, I think it was Operation Asteroids, I think was the first one. That was probably the most challenging because it was the first one and we were all finding our feet and how is this going to work? And all the actors were sort of, making sure that they stayed in the right voices and also establishing the right voices. So I remember Justin sort of trying to, differentiate between his voices and, and not making them too sort of comical, I suppose. So that was probably the most challenging because it was not just for me. I think it was for everyone finding what this beast is to then take it into the next ones.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
Cool.
Another, I think?
One more, yeah. Okay.
A couple there or one more?
Yeah, we've got two more.
Yeah, let's crack on.
Here we go. Oh, this is a big one. Morty Vicker. Sam, I'm looking forward to the new audio works we've heard being hinted at covering the Anderson universe and hoping that you'll be a big part of that. I especially enjoyed your updated version of UFO's Alec Freeman for Big Finish. Why, thank you. Yes. What would you view as being more fun, though, acting as an Anderson character or directing?
Tricky question.
Yeah. Well, I love both actually, and the more I direct, it's that thing. When I'm directing, I'm missing acting. And when I'm acting, I'm like, I wish I was in control of this a little bit. Sometimes, sometimes not all the time. But I mean, but there is a real having acted for so many years and then transitioned more into directing, and now this sort of being more of what I do more than anything else. When I get to go back to acting, there is a kind of freedom In that I can, there's the pressure of obviously performing, and there's the pressure of getting it, getting it accurate and listening and reacting and all that kind of stuff. But I only have that one job to think about, as opposed to thinking of the story, everyone else. So it in some ways it's a bit more of a relief acting. So, and I loved playing Alec Freeman, and I hope there are more of UFO, because I think that you're just starting. You need a couple of these to start finding your way. I mean, if you think about the TV series, or any of these, they have so many episodes with which to learn and to grow and to push. So I think that was probably, I don't know. I don't know. I like both, but I loved playing Alec Freeman, and I would love to do more.
Great, good. Another question there?
Yeah, last one. Here we go. Yeah. Steve Bushell. Okay, hi Sam. Having recently written and directed The Waterhouse, which has an impressive 8 out of 10 star review on IMDb.
Wow.
Wow. Hopefully that lasts.
Yeah.
When will you be collaborating with Jamie to get a feature film made of UFO featuring the wonderful Wanda Ventham?
Yes, that's what we want to know.
I mean,
when is that going to happen?
Clearly, this is the pitch. Let's go. Thank you, Steve, for the kickoff.
Could you imagine a universe where you might be, involved in some sort of big screen Anderson production somehow?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, I mean, I'd absolutely love to be involved in something on of Gerry's work, or an adaptation of his work. I mean, it's so vast and iconic, and I think there's room for change if you wanted to, or updating, or not, as we were discussing earlier. But I would absolutely love to do something like that. But I think it needs a healthy budget, I think, to do it well, and to do it well now without it just being entirely, CGI entirely. I think there needs to be an element of. I think if you weren't doing some practical level in this, that would be a missed opportunity, given where its heritage and where it's come from. I think a healthy collaboration, maybe between that and visual effects or virtual production, would be where it might sit nicely, for example. But I would, sign me up. Yes, so Jamie, let's go.
Great.
Oh, he said he was a nice chap.
Yes, lovely Sam Clemens. I liked him so much, I invited him back next week.
Oh, well, that's very sporting, isn't it?
Only right.
Yeah.
Well done, you.
So join us next week for the second part of my interview with Sam Clemens. But also coming up, I think we've got Gary Tompkins, art designer for Terrorhawks.
Yes.
Amongst many other things. I mean, Star Wars,
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
He'll be along shortly. We've also got Paul Shipper, artist responsible for many of our favourite posters.
He's brilliant.
The Gerry Anderson universe. He'll be joining us in a few weeks. And also a favourite of mine, a Space Precinct alumnus.
I was very excited when I heard
Is
this.
it Ray Winston?
No.
Close.
It's Natalie Rolls, who played Chloe Vincent from Predator and Prey. Yeah, I murdered her.
Brilliant.
She
the
went
character.
And now
That's
she's
right.
back for more.
Yes. She went on to have a very successful career on the likes of The Bill and so on, so she's going to come in and talk to us about that as well. Lots of exciting guests coming up.
Lovely.
Oh, I love the bill.
And you can only see and hear them here. Why do you never pay it then? Here on the Gerry Anderson podcast, where, I have to say, our listeners have been emailing us. podcast@gerryanderson.com.
They have.
Shall we see what they have to say for themselves?
Let them in. All right.
This is the voice of the Podsterons.
It's the voice of the Podsterons. It's my favourite section of the podcast.
That's
because
a bit harsh. I mean, just had lovely Sam Clemens on. Like, well, that was filler. This is the good stuff.
we get to hear from our lovely listeners and viewers. And this is why we're here.
It is the good stuff.
We
I agree.
We exist to please and serve them.
We do indeed. And speaking of,
Yes.
I shall take the first email we've had,
All right.
which begins, hello, Jamie, Richard, and Chris.
Hello.
Hello. Hope you all are well and had a very good, at time of writing, Gerry Anderson Day. Did we?
Oh, yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Busy, wasn't it?
I was in Manchester.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's very fun.
Unfortunately, I had to go to work and missed some of the 12-hour marathon. However, when I got home, I immediately tuned in and got to watch what was shown in the afternoon, and I enjoyed it very much.
Hurrah!
Good.
One of many highlights for me was watching the Space Precinct episode
Time to Kill.
Yes, for the very first time.
What?
And it was absolutely brilliant. I can see why many fans love that episode. Great stuff. course it is. I'm really looking forward to the Standby for Action 2 concert in July. I wasn't able to attend the first one back in 2022, but I did get the CD and Blu-ray of the show. I hope I get to see you there, but until then, keep up the great work that you do. Thank you, everyone at Anderson Entertainment and my fellow Podsterons for keeping the legacy of Gerry Anderson alive.
Nice.
FAB, SIG, PWOR, and 1010.
Oh.
That's from Jonathan Westall.
Jonathan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Yeah, great. Yes, I'm looking forward to Standby for Action 2 too.
Yes.
222.
It's not far away now.
That's right.
No, it's very close.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got an email.
Good.
Ready?
Yes.
Chris,
Born ready.
I need your help with this one.
Oh, okay.
If you'd be ready to perform. This one reads, Hi guys.
Ah. There it is.
Thank you very much. That's what we
Wow.
needed. Just wanted to say how much I enjoyed the Gerry Anderson Day live stream. Another enjoyer there.
Good.
Great mix of stuff that I added to with a few recorded Talking Pictures episodes. Oh, so they...
Good idea.
Yeah, enhancing your experience.
Yeah.
Plus the 3 episode on the Terrorhawks Facebook page and a rewatch of a personal favourite episode, Pit of Peril. And we did that recently too. Oh, the irony that I had to take a break halfway through the day to go and have an eye test. Specs on, indeed.
Oh, dear. He's joined the club.
Yeah.
The Gerry Anderson flag is well and truly flying high. Please don't play that song. We know what that song is.
If you're alive for your
said
life.
please,
no,
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 Chris.
He said play it. He didn't say
said,
don't sing
let's
it.
not do it. Anyway, FAB, PWR, SIG, 1010, SPA, etc.
Oh, SBA.
Team GA, we salute you. From Team BA, that's Big Al.
Big Al.
PS,
Alex Pass. Yes.
loving all the new stuff in print, audio, firing mini missiles. Keep it coming.
Well,
We've lost our mini missile for our little interceptor here, I noticed earlier. It's
The
very
Shadow
sad.
Interceptor missile loss is an experience shared by many. I
Yes,
think.
but that means we've taken care of a UFO.
Absolutely.
Or we've missed a UFO. Probably one
Probably
of the
missed
two.
one.
yeah, that's right. Now, do you remember a few podcasts ago I debuted my stunning Australian accent to great acclaim?
Who could forget?
It was a
And
beauty.
applause. Yeah. Well, I'm going to wheel it out again now because we've heard here from Grant
Nice.
in Brisbane, who actually gives me permission to use my Australian accent. So, Grant, this one's for you.
So exciting.
Hi, Jamie, Richard, and Chris. My name's Grant, and I'm a first-time emailer and a long-time listener all the way from Brisbane, Australia. I've heard you guys go to conventions all around England and was wondering if you'd ever come to one in Australia. I would love to buy some merchandise from you in person, possibly Supernova.
What?
It's
all right.
I just love it so much.
It's so authentic, isn't it? Not at all stereotypical.
Also, I'd like to say I've got a bit Tommy Cooper now. I've just got my partner into Thunderbirds, and her favourite character is Parker because of his attitude and how easily he can break into any safe. Also, can Richard please read this out in his best Aussie accent again?
we start again.
It's absolutely hilarious. Thanking you, Grant.
SIG, FAB, PWOR.
Wow.
Thanks, Grant.
Wow.
Another little round of applause for
Oh,
me.
no. Well, thank you, Grant, for spawning another visit to my Australian accent.
Yes.
Lovely to hear from people all over the world.
Yes. So what do you think the chances are that we'll do an international event?
In Australia.
Perhaps a cruise.
I
What about
think,
Anda Cruise?
Yeah.
Are you a cruise fan?
Yeah, I could certainly do
do a
that.
cruise?
Like
Become
a
one. I've
4-day
never-
cruise would be
4
brilliant.
day. Okay, that's quite limited.
Let's say, look, we've got there's 1,000 people in the Facebook group, podcast,
We
Facebook,
invite all of them.
Facebook.com/groups/podsterons.
They can crew the ship.
That's,
Right.
we only need a third of those to get tickets for a cruise, and we're off round the Med.
Right.
We
Okay.
could do a live podcast every night.
Let's.
I could dress up in my Officer Orin costume,
Yes.
Right. Yes.
sign some books.
Brilliant. Let's
You in?
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Just email us podcast@gerryanderson.com with the subject and a cruise, and let us know if you would like to join us on a mini cruise around the Med.
Sounds lovely.
Anyway,
Wow.
That's all for now.
And
Do
on
get in
that
touch. Podcast@gerryanderson.com. You know that by now because we've been doing this 307 weeks already.
that sounds like a really long time when you say it like that.
And we look forward to reading out your emails next time. Now, we know why you're really here, Podsterons. It's for the watch along from the Randomiser.
Oh, yes.
Let's see what Sam Clemens chose for us to watch this week. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's see.
Before you go, Sam, I wonder if you could do us an enormous favour.
Yes.
You see that big red button before you on the table? Just pick that up.
Okay.
This will choose the episode that we're going to watch on the randomizer for this week.
Okay.
So it's quite a big responsibility.
Okay, I'll take it.
So give us a count of 3 and press the button.
3, 2, 1.
Right, here we go. What are we hoping for?
Or maybe a live action something?
Really?
Not the Protectors, though.
No, I'd like
please.
something with Super Mario Nation. Oh, okay.
well, no.
I'm happy with UFO.
Yeah, nice little UFO.
It's not the Protectors.
It's not the Protectors. And
win.
it has
I'm
a
thrilled.
four-legged friend in it.
Chris,
Oh, I love them.
tell us, which episode are we watching this week?
We're watching UFO, the cat with 10 lives.
Tell us a bit more about UFO. This is Jerry's first live-action series.
Yes?
What were people expecting? I mean, can you imagine sitting down, having watched like maybe a year or two ago?
Having watched Joe 90 previously.
That's right.
Aw, I'm ready for
Maybe
anything.
Secret Service, if you were lucky enough to see it in the Anglia region, or wherever else it was shown. What did people make of UFO when it first came out? Do you have any idea at all?
I've no idea because it went out 15 years before I was born. So
Great answer.
Yeah. I mean, some people loved it. And some people wouldn't have liked it.
Many people loved it. I think there was confusion a bit around, these guys did Thunderbirds and stuff before, and now this is all very, drugs and marriage breakdowns and scary stuff.
And then you get 1 or 2 episodes sort of pushed near the end of the run because they don't know what time to schedule them, so they stick them out near enough midnight. Kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
This isn't quite there, but
Almost?
almost, I would say, yes. It deals with 1 or 2 dark themes.
Oh, great.
I
Yes.
can't wait.
So if we're in the mood for some dark themes,
Yes. The
must
cat
be
with 10
UFO.
lives.
Here we go.
Specs on.
Specs on.
They're already on. What do I do? What do I do?
Oh, I mean, talking about classic themes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Isn't it brilliant?
A favourite, of course. I think.
Yeah, and I love the way it gives every character a little moment to shine, even if it's only like half a second.
Yeah.
And they were only in 2 episodes.
Yep.
They all get a little moment.
And what's also nice about this opening sequence is that we can now watch this and say, been on the podcast?
Yep.
Been on the podcast?
Been on the podcast. No, we couldn't get Sid, sadly. But it's the super fast cutting of this must have felt quite
Oh, yeah.
exhilarating as a viewer in 1970.
It's quite reminiscent of Stingray in that respect.
There you go, perfect moment there
Yeah.
for a Stingray-esque shot.
And there's Georgina, also podcast guest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ben Page got in touch with me to say that a clip from our interview with Georgina Moon had garnered 2 million views on Instagram.
2
Wow.
million?
That's how popular she is.
Gosh.
That's the magic of Moon.
Magic of Moon.
That's what we're going to call it now.
A short play for radio. Here we go.
So this is episode 19, I believe, in production order. This is the second one that they filmed at Pinewood Studios. So after the break in production, and immediately you get a sense that there's a bit more energy going here than in the earlier episodes. This is also the first episode to feature Wanda Ventham as a regular member of the cast.
Is it that late
It
on?
is, yeah.
Gosh, I didn't realise
Yeah.
she was that late on.
She was in the very first episode, but this is the first one with her as a full regular. First one with Dolores Mantez in Commander Moonbase as well. So,
An episode of first.
now I've given you a load of fab facts, I'll be on my way.
Now tell us, Chris, a little bit about Shadow. What is the moon base? What are we looking at
Well,
here?
Moonbase is the first line of defence against those pesky oncoming UFOs, much like the ones we see here, yes.
Beautifully timed.
Always 3.
Right.
Here we go again. Red alert!
And amongst our defence vehicles, we have these interceptors piloted by interceptor pilots. All 3 of whom are recognisable actors from other things.
Well, one of whom is a recognisable actor from another Gerry Anderson series.
Indeed, yes.
Can you spot him, Podsterons?
Wow. And first appearance as well of these lovely ground tanks as
Yeah.
well.
They're lovely, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a wonderful battle sequence coming up here that I think they reused in several later episodes as well, but when it looks as good as this, why not reuse it?
Shadow control. Moonbase to shadow control. Go ahead.
There she is.
Ground defenses in position. Interceptor spaceborne. Contact -47.
Roger.
Now, I don't know if it's contentious to say this, but of course, the model work that these shows are famous for, I think it works better in these sort of outer space and moon shots than it does on the Earth landscapes.
Oh, really?
I find it a little bit jarring in UFO, yeah, the model shots on Earth, yeah.
See, I'm kind of the opposite. Yeah, because I find a lot of the model shots on Earth are often at night, and it's quite sinister and atmospheric. Whereas some of these space shots are a bit sort of model on wire, which is fine. And there's some, as I said, lovely effect stuff coming up around Moonbase, but...
Tell your ground defenses to get nervous.
It is that thing that you get nervous.
What guidance, Commander Straker?
I hope you're wearing your brown trousers.
More coffee. More UFOs?
Another 3.
Yes.
Control. 3 more UFOs approaching. Orbital reference.
Always 3.
Decoys.
I don't know if there may be something in what you said there, in that it's easier to accept the model work alongside puppets than it is alongside live actors, possibly.
Yeah.
I think that also fits with your nighttime thing, Chris, because daylight is so hard to really simulate when you've got actual actors and locations in daylight and then model. I can see that being a bit jarring for you, Richard.
I mean, I can forgive it.
Absolutely, it's beautiful anyway.
But this is probably up to this point the most sort of violent shadow versus aliens confrontation. There's quite a few deaths on both sides. I'm assuming these vehicles are manned, because if they are, that guy's dead.
Ground defenses knocked out.
That's it. They're wide open now. Where are they?
I love how intense and serious it is.
It's also serious, isn't it?
Yeah. And then you get the kind of da-da-da-da jazzy kind of interpretations in there.
One down.
Beautiful. Now, that actor, Chris, remind us who he is.
Well, that's Alexis Canner, who ITC fans may remember from several appearances in The Prisoner, including the final episode.
Favourite actor of Patrick McGowan's, isn't he?
He was, to the extent that when his name came up on the post-title credits, guest starring so-and-so, so-and-so, and Alexis Canner, it was in a special white rectangular box to make it even more prominent.
What happened to him? Do we know?
I don't know.
He was rather prolific around this time, and a big enough name to lead an episode or two of.
I have a feeling he did some films over here and possibly went back to the States or Canada. I want to say he sort of passed early 2000s. So,
but it's a really interesting performance that he gives. Very twitchy and
it always is. Though. It's very good. And we have this. I like this as well because it's almost a this episode sequence of shots coming up relating to the story.
Now, why do we not have a pack of UFO Ouija cards available at the Gerry Anderson store?
They're in development right now.
Okay. Good.
I promise. What a lovely kitty.
Yeah.
Oh, or is it?
It looks nice. How did it get past shadow security?
Well, exactly.
Now, hang on, what's going on here?
So, a mystery to keep us watching.
Yeah.
What happened to the game of cards?
We'll get back to that. It hasn't happened yet. That was coming up in the episode. Yes.
And 3 at ground level. Now 6 in a decoy maneuver.
All or nothing. Last fling. Do you think they give up?
I love how she's like, do you think they've given up? Can we go home? Is that it? Are we done? It's obviously all finished now.
Raft just to give up.
Nothing says sci-fi like a Nehru collar.
Absolutely.
He wears it well, doesn't he? Now, was this a wig at this point? I know that he was...
Yes, originally his hair was bleached and then it started to fall out, so he switched to a wig, which he kept for the rest of his life. Took it to events and things, yes. Kept it fed and watered, as you have to do.
Steve.
Yeah?
Yes, we've identified one of our interceptor pilots here, Alexis Canner. This is another actor from The Prisoner, Al Mancini, and several other ITC things.
So Richard, the director...
it's David Tomlin.
Had also worked on The Prisoner.
On The Prisoner, yes. But Richard, who is this chap? You mentioned him.
Yes, that's Stephen Burkoff.
Stephen Burkoff, indeed.
Who went on to... was it Deadline, wasn't it? Space Precinct episode called Deadline. The honour of acting opposite Stephen Burkoff.
That's right.
He gave me a private rendition of a soliloquy from Richard III, which I'll always remember. As we were waiting to go on. That was quite extraordinary.
Nice. So have you contacted him about appearing on this podcast?
I haven't. He's quite a tricky character.
Yes.
Let's just put it that way.
So we're now in the Moonbase leisure sphere or gym.
I like leisure sphere.
Leisure sphere, yeah.
That sounds much better.
Do we see this often in the series?
I think they use this set for sort of multiple similar
whatever we
things.
need.
Yes. I'm sure Paul Foster has regular sessions in here beating up chaps.
Oh, yes.
I like the shadow issue headgear.
Yes.
Produced just for this.
Yeah.
Submit. No. Submit. No. Come on, it'll break.
Oh. But it's rare to see anyone get the better of Paul Foster.
It was a mistake.
Now, this is quite nice because we're not actually forwarding the plot in any way, but we are getting to know
this character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Characterization.
Yeah.
How exciting.
Yeah.
And that's something that UFO does quite well with minor shadow operatives who only appear for one episode, introducing them before saying something terrible is going to happen to them. It's normally involving their wives who don't know anything about what they really do.
Oh, right. Don't tell Charlotte.
No.
She'll be on to me.
5, 6.
You're coming on, Regan.
8. No, you're still too good for me.
No, really, you nearly had me.
But this was, although it's episode 18, this was shown originally as episode 3. I guess people thought, oh, this is a really good one, we'll show it early on. It does introduce later on, possibly not until next week, some interesting additions to the continuity of the show, which are kind of broken by bringing it forward to the front of the run, but
So
that's how it was in the
this
day.
involves the identity of the occupants of the UFOs.
Yes.
Which thus far we know are organ harvesters.
Yes, aliens.
Yes.
From some distant planet. But, yes.
Don't even suggest it.
We might have some developments on that front soon.
Will do real, James Regan. Stand up, please. Must be me.
Oh, and we're about to get an appearance, a very brief appearance, from another Anderson legend.
Oh?
Not just an Anderson legend, but a British TV legend. There he is!
Yes.
The great Windsor Davies.
Early on in his career, I think.
Very early, yes.
I mean, how old is he there?
Oh,
he
no
looks
idea.
40s at least, doesn't he?
Could be, yeah.
Dan Dare wasn't in it.
So he crammed quite a career into the last 30 years of his life, really.
Cheers, Morgan.
Including Terrorhawks. So, our interceptor pilot, Jim Regan, is now off duty, heading home in a lovely car with some lovely music.
Yes. And his lovely
To a
wife.
lovely lady, yes. This is an actress, Geraldine Moffat, I believe. Again, was a regular girl of the week in ITC shows all over the place.
And she's chosen to accessorize nicely with the decor in her flat,
Yes.
house, with a nice dressing gown.
Well, she doesn't have much else to do. We don't know if she has a job or anything.
She probably does.
Well, she might do, but...
Gosh. This is where we all sort of awkwardly look away and mumble to
yes.
ourselves.
Well, this is
Anyway,
interesting.
yes,
No.
let's talk about Derek Meddings.
Fine.
No, but it does just hint at the
You're the nicest
adultization.
Yeah.
Yes.
What a step
versus.
change.
I mean, yeah, is this? You didn't see Joe 90 snogging anyone,
Well,
did you?
No.
Or Father Owen even. So this is quite the change.
I bet he did, though.
Well, yeah. What he
Wow.
does with Matthew in his spare time, it's up to him.
That's why they call him Father. But again, it only goes so far because I don't think it's in this episode, but there's at least 2 other episodes I can think of where you see a married couple, but they're sleeping in separate beds. So you couldn't get everything past the censors at this time. But we've established there with the brief sort of brush against her tummy that there's not just 2 people in this scene, there's 3. There's a little one on the way. Everything is happy and perfect in the life of Jim Regan.
Yeah.
And because he works for Shadow, that's not going to last very long.
No.
Particularly as they're off to a dinner party.
How many of these cars did they have in their possession?
Oh,
Beautiful.
2 or 3,
Really?
yeah.
Amazing.
You know how
Yes.
proud your cousin is of his photography.
Yeah, there's Straker's car,
Straker's car,
Foster's
car.
car, and then this.
Yeah.
This is the third one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this kind of gets called Lake's car, but
Yeah.
it's kind of for anybody.
But all made for Doppelganger.
Yes.
We could always turn back.
Which would have been filmed, what, a year or 2 previous to this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We must go. Muriel specially cooked.
Also, I think this is the only scene in the Anderson universe where you hear the word kinky.
Well, that, yeah.
So there we go.
That's a fab
Fab
fact.
fact.
Yeah, brilliant.
Not worth stopping for.
No.
When I enraptured, it was this Ouija thing.
I think I've written far worse in the new First Action Bureau novel.
Yeah, goodness me, you
wow.
have. Racy. That's what it is.
So having had dinner of some description at this is the Thompson family, Mr. Thompson and Mrs. Thompson, We're now going to have a session with the Ouija board, or the
As you
Ouija
do.
cards, as you do.
As you did in the 70s, for sure.
Yeah, especially when someone randomly leaves a package of cards on your doorstep without explanation.
I'm looking forward to that being resolved. Maybe in the episode.
Yeah, you might be waiting a long time for that one, unless an alien... That's the only explanation. Either an alien or a cat came to the door and dropped those off.
Oh. I was just looking at the decor. He's got lots of butterflies.
Oh, yes. He's a lepidopterist.
Yes.
That's exactly what I think he is.
He makes kinky films about them. That's...
Right, that was the kinky.
That was the kinky bit, yes. And this, Mr. Thompson here is another actor from The Prisoner. It's Colin Gordon.
He was a number 2, wasn't he?
He was at number 2 twice.
Oh, right.
He was indeed.
Does that make him a number 4?
Oh, could be, yes. Or a 2x2. Yeah.
If you're going to be a boy,
Yeah, he's one of those actors who's always great value in everything.
What if it's twins?
Yes, that's a point.
Don't be difficult, Jim. Are we having a boy?
But again, this is the kind of thing you wouldn't expect, or I suppose broadcasters at the time wouldn't expect to see turning up in an Anderson show, traditionally more family-friendly.
Yeah. This has the feel of those sort of 1970s Hammer House of Horror anthology series, or Tales of the Unexpected.
Yeah.
how would you ask a question?
Yes, now, let me see now.
Just a note on pipe smoking.
Oh, yes.
Is this the last Anderson series where we see a pipe smoked?
That's interesting.
I mean, I don't
No.
expect you to have the answer. Oh, he's got the answer.
I've got the answer. No, there is, in Space 1999, I think Jeremy Camp has a pipe in the episode that he's in.
Well.
Yes.
Okay.
What's the last example of anyone smoking in a Gerry Anderson series? Because I think I might have an answer to that.
I think it's Space Precinct.
I think it might have been me.
E?
As Pike in Deadline.
E?
No, it would be Wayne in Death Watch.
Curses! That Wayne Forrester!
Well, that was an odd little detour we
Yeah,
took
sorry
there.
about that.
But the Ouija, I nearly said Ouija game, that's not what it's called, is it? But it's
How to spell it?
Oh, come on then.
something is influencing the game,
Oh, really, Muriel? It wasn't me.
which is rather what you hope for when you do. I mean, have either of you ever partaken?
No. But it is a game. It was
It is,
introduced as a game.
Yes,
There anybody there?
we can give it a go.
Is there anybody there? Albert, take that pipe out of your mouth.
Oh,
Goodness
there you go,
sake.
see?
Perhaps we ought to concentrate with our eyes closed.
Right.
Right.
It's getting a bit weird.
Yeah.
Is there anybody?
And if you would like another fab fact from me,
Oh, yes, please.
you know how often I've said, I first saw this episode on the BBC. This is the only episode of UFO I didn't see first on the BBC, because they broadcast it as an unscheduled replacement for rained-off cricket.
Did they?
And I didn't know until it was gone. So there we go.
Extraordinary.
That is a truly fab
That is a
fact.
very fab fact, yes. Oh, someone's there.
Oh.
Yes, here you get to see a bit of the more arty direction coming in from David
Yeah.
Tomblin. This is very prisoner-ish.
Yeah.
Nice bit of Barry Gray spooky stuff as well.
The fish was bad.
Oh dear. Yeah, Jim's having a funny turn.
Squeezing very hard and shaking.
Albert hasn't noticed anything's wrong until his wife.
Oh, that face.
Oh yeah.
I think he sees a lot of that face, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Doesn't pay any attention anymore.
Constant disapproval.
And we've broken the circle. Is he going to come out of it?
Yes. In some way.
Are you all right, darling?
Let me get you a brandy or something.
Been in contact with higher forces.
Has he?
Well, I'm guessing.
It's a bit like when the Podsterons get in touch with us.
Oh yes. What are you insinuating there?
I passed out.
Are you sure you're all right, Jim?
Yes.
Nothing to worry about. Everything's fine.
Must have been more tired than I thought.
Okay.
So,
It's a bit of a strange evening, isn't it?
yeah.
Is it established how they actually know the Thompsons?
No.
No. It's an
Well,
unlikely friendship group.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're slightly older as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. Who knows?
I'm sure
really
there's
just weird when strange when young people hang out with older people, isn't it? It's just really weird.
I think it's lovely.
Just tiredness catching up with me. I'll be as good as new after a night's sleep.
Yeah, dinner and Ouija with a lepidopterist is a bit weird, without explanation, but...
Why are we taking the long way?
Yeah, that makes I spend my day job fighting aliens slightly more credible than what you do in the evening.
Yes.
Just wasn't thinking, I suppose.
But he's taking the long way home without planning to.
Perhaps you'd better.
He's not himself, is he?
No, so it's time to change drivers.
That's clever.
Smoothly
Get out the
done.
car, yeah.
Just did it as though he was winging around that corner.
Whoa.
Oh, no.
What?
What on earth? Why did you do that, Jim?
Something in the road.
Oh, what have we got in the road? Bearing in mind the title of the episode, it shouldn't be a surprise.
Could it be a... It is.
Kitty! Ah. Are we cat fans around this table?
Yeah, I've got 2.
Of course you've got 2, yes. Very nice they are as well.
I've got 5.
Oh, I've got none.
For now.
Well, those numbers always in flux.
Yes.
Yeah, he was lucky I saw him.
No.
Oh, we can't just leave it.
So the evening isn't a total loss. We've
got a cat
got
out
of it. Yeah. But you give a lady a cat, a lady whose husband is away, doesn't have much company.
Right.
Can I keep?
She wants to keep him.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Right.
What were you thinking?
I just wasn't sure where you were going.
No.
I'll have to think about it. I don't like competition, you know. Oh.
And now the car's broken.
Who said cats were lucky? I think we'll call this one Jonah. Let's see what's in the toolkit.
Yeah, but this is what I mean about the integration between the live action and the model when it's dark.
Sure.
Yes.
That works. That
Sure.
really works.
Yeah.
And I think it's only that shot. You don't suddenly have mobiles coming at it from all sides.
Yes. Oh. Ah.
That was nice.
I think that this whole sequence is very effective as well because you hear about people being abducted. You never actually see it. And here we're in the point of view of the abductee, which is very unusual.
All very nightmarish.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all very cool.
So they're being taken
aboard the UFO.
The ramp.
Yes. And I think this is the only time you see inside a UFO
Exactly what
for
I was about
real.
to ask you.
There's Foster's Dream episode where he imagines what it's like. Yeah. Having a bit of a scan. Is Ticker or is maybe his soul?
Soul.
Well, could be.
That's a debate for another time.
Yes, next
Haven't
week.
got time in this randomizer.
Okay, the shot we
That's
saw
off the opening.
earlier. Yeah. Aha.
Well, it's a different take from the one that they used in the post credits. Yeah.
Yes, it's higher up his forehead, isn't it?
And now that that's done.
Hello. There's the cat, but
Very
Missing
well behaved.
anybody?
yes.
Gene! Gene! Gene!
And it would be horrific even if he didn't work for Shadow, but the fact that he knows exactly who they are, what's happened, where she's going, and what's going to happen to her. It's, again, as you said, nightmarish. It's just
Yeah, absolutely.
so
right.
awful.
It's very disturbing. And the car still won't work.
Yes, but now it does.
Is that as a consequence of having a UFO nearby? Is that what it is?
Or a consequence of the cat. We'll find out next week.
Oh, what?
Because it's to be continued.
What
Wow.
a cliffhanger.
I know.
What a cliffhanger. Part 1 of UFO. The
Gene
cat
has
with 10
been
lives.
snatched.
Bit of UFO on the randomizer, though.
Very nice too, yes.
very
Great.
enjoyable.
I'm enjoying that very much. I mean, it's always worth watching Ed Bishop, although
Oh, yes.
not much to do in that one, to be honest.
Lots of
There
art.
wasn't, no.
Had a week
no.
off or so, didn't he? But,
Yeah, he'll get a bit more to do next week.
okay.
Yes. But it's, speaking of Ed Bishop, very randomly,
Yes.
I when I come to these recordings, I come by train.
Yes.
Yes. And
You wear a blonde wig on route.
I wear a blonde wig, yes.
Yeah.
I smoke cigars, and it's all very hush-hush. No, I was chatting to the chap who worked at the station where I got on yesterday, and he used to work with Ed Bishop's daughter.
What?
35 years ago, they were in the police force together.
Right.
Yeah.
Well.
So they're all out there, people who know Anderson stuff and know
Yes.
people who are connected with Anderson stuff.
Yes. We know they're out there because sometimes they email us.
They do.
Are you Ed Bishop's daughter? Are you watching now?
Yes.
Email us, please. Come on the podcast.
Or George Sewell's daughter, or anyone's. We'll take anybody,
not
really.
anyone's daughter. I think that's spreading the net a bit too wide.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, that's all for now. We hope you enjoyed the first part of UFO, The Cat with 10 Lives. Come and join us next week when we'll be watching the second half. We'll also have the second part of our interview with Sam Clemens. We will also have more emails from our Podsterons.
Oh, yes.
And I dare say some more Gerry Anderson news.
Maybe 1 or 2 letters.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can have a letter or 2.
Or 2.
I'm already thrilled.
See you next week. Bye.
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 1. Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
Did you really wear a blonde wig on the train?
No. I can't get away with the blonde wig anymore. The purple one still fits. Yes.
I mean, I have worn something from a Gerry Anderson series on the tube, and that was
Was
my
it your own
contact
head?
lenses from Kamada in Predator and Prey.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that would be fun.
That's
Until
was it
I scared a
fun?
little girl in front of me who said, "Make the bad man go away."
Oh,
to her mummy.
We said the same.
And I felt very guilty. Shall we make the bad man go away?
Let's make the bad man go away.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye. That was an Anderson Entertainment production.